The soldier had been floating in the Pacific Ocean for 5 days and 5 nights. When he was about to die of thirst and found a deserted island, he jumped into the sea and pulled the raft ashore, and then ran as hard as he could to the shore, and found a ditch in the jungle, and laid down and began to drink. But when he drank his fill, he looked up and realized that there were a few thatched huts on the other side of the island, which immediately alerted him. In order to find out what was on the other side of the river, he hung his boots around his neck and dove into the water, and swam silently to the other side. Then he took out his dagger from his back, and carefully went around to the back of the thatched huts, and searched for them carefully, but found them empty. However, fishing nets still drying outside, and all the signs of human activity, proved that the place had been inhabited not long ago. As the soldier continued his search, he came upon a church and a nun stepped out to clean it. The nun was surprised to see the soldier. It was the first time she had seen a living person in 8 years. The soldier learned that there were no Japanese soldiers on the island. The only 2 people on the island then relaxed their nerves, and put down their guard and went into the church, and leaned against the wall and fell asleep, until the soldier woke up in the night, and found the nun kneeling on the floor praying. The soldier rushed over and extinguished the candles, then loudly warned the nun that she must keep the lights on at night, because the light and smoke might attract the Japanese. The nun apologized for her ignorance and brought the soldier some food. The soldiers, who had been starving for 5 days, gobbled up the food and quickly devoured it. After eating and drinking, the soldier told the nun that he was an officer on a US submarine that had been sunk by the Japanese, and that he had decided to stay on a deserted island to escape the brutality of the war. But the food was scarce on the island, and the soldiers, who had been trained to survive in the wilderness, took on the task of finding food. He cut down the bamboo and sharpened it, and took the nuns to the beach, and rode a rubber raft down to the sea to go fishing. Soon they spotted a turtle, and the 2 of them paddled their kayaks as hard as they could, and crept closer. The soldier grabbed a pre-made tool and put it around the turtle's neck. But when the soldiers turned around to show off their success, the turtle suddenly pulled the soldiers out of the kayak, and dragged them into the sea. The nuns were terrified and paddled after the turtle in a rubber raft. But the soldier, who was well versed in the water, managed to catch the turtle on the raft after exhausting it. Back on shore, they had a good meal. But then the sound of warplanes suddenly came from the sky. Fearing discovery, the soldier threw himself on the nuns, and pulled a palm leaf over his body. When the Japanese planes passed by, the soldier told the nun that they were Japanese reconnaissance planes, surveying the island, which would soon become a Japanese garrison. So the soldier took the nun and hid in a cave. That night, the Japanese bombed the island, and the nun, who had never experienced war before, shivered at the sound of the explosions. Only after the soldier calmed her down did she calm down. After the bombing, 2 of them came out of the cave, and found that all the buildings on the deserted island were in ruins. Even the coconut trees had been blown over, and not a single intact coconut was left. Worse still, the soldiers suddenly realized with horror that Japanese warship was approaching the island, and in less than a moment, a group of Japanese soldiers were paddling their kayaks onto the deserted island.